Hey everybody, this is Marian Cowagowan.
And this is David Owen.
And this is You Show Me Yours, the podcast where a married couple talks about the movies and TV that they loved before the first date. And today I was made to watch Con Air.
Con Air. Yeah, not the hairdryer maker. Con Space Air. Very important distinction.
Right. And air, not airlines, not airways. Con Air.
Yep. Con Air.
Yep.
As in airplane, because it's about cons on an airplane.
Yep. Ba-dum-bum.
Yeah. It's like the joke. They say it in the movie, too.
Yeah. That's how you know it's good. It's in the script.
Yeah, if they say the title in the movie, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Con Air is, of course, the 1997 Jerry Bruckheimer produced action flick starring Nicolas Cage and John Malkovich and John Cusack and a bunch of other
and
awesome
Air
people.
Buddy.
And
Buddy.
Yes. It's a great movie. I've loved it for a long time. It came out in 97, the summer of 97, when I was just graduated high school, and I ended up first job out of high school was while I went to school was to my ill-fated art degree, which never happened, was working in a video store. And this was one of the first movies that we got like for a release after I started in the video store. Okay. So I will always remember it.
So it imprinted on you.
Yeah. And once I was working in the video store, I could take home all the posters. So I had Con Air poster.
Oh my gosh. You worked in several video stores, didn't you?
A couple. Yeah. 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I mean, I really enjoyed it. Like, I really love movies. So it made sense. Yeah. If you've never seen this movie, I'll give you a quick plot synopsis. Cameron Poe, which is a great action hero name, is a decorated Army Ranger who is being honorably discharged. He comes home, just wants to spend time with his like 3 months pregnant wife, and have a nice normal life. But some local ruffians mess things up for him, and because he's a trained lethal weapon, he unintentionally kills one of them in a parking lot brawl, which they initiated. And, some Alabama judge, stands up on the bench and says, well, Mr. Poe, because you are a lethal weapon trained by our government, you must...
I think it was like, you are a menace to society. And I was like, are we trying to name all the other movies in this? We're trying to get all the movie titles and the dialogue here?
So he is convinced by his lawyer to plead guilty, which he will be given a lenient sentence, but because he is a trained weapon... which is not a thing. It's not a thing that a trained martial artist or military person has less right to defend themselves than anyone else. He's sentenced to 7 to 10 years, and fast forward like 8 years. And after learning a lot and in prison and enriching himself and reading books and writing letters and meeting Buford Blue. Bubba from Forrest Gump was Buford something Blue.
I don't remember.
Was his name, I think. Yeah. He meets Bubba, and they're pals in prison, and he's on the straight and narrow, and he's going home on July 14th. My birthday's July 14th. I'm going to see my daddy for the first time on July 14th.
Hang on a second. Back to Bubba. What is his Baby O?
Baby O.
Okay, yeah. What was he in for?
Unspecified.
Okay. Because, and this will become clear shortly, I feel like the movie distinguishes between hardened criminals who are truly evil and Cameron, who's just the wrong place at the wrong time. Sure. Not everybody falls into that, sheep versus goats metric. Yeah. But, and I'm kind of like, we're casting future Bubba as a good guy. No, not past Bubba, as a good guy. What did he do to get here? And
right. So there's an explanation for that. Mm-hmm. So they say they are populating Alabama's new maximum security prison. This prison also is state of the art and has medical facilities that will help Bubba, who is a type 1 diabetic. Baby O, who is a type 1 diabetic, have a easier time in his prison life. So he is being transferred. He is he's with Poe in like the minimum security wing. So whatever he's done, it's one of the good crimes. And he's in the minimum security wing or whatever with Poe. And he's being transferred to that prison because it's a state-of-the-art, brand new prison, and it will help because he is type 1 diabetic and needs a shot regularly. They have better medical facilities, so he's being transferred for that reason. Mm-hmm. But because it is a maximum security prison, the U.S. Marshals are pulling, you would assume, from multiple prisons to bring the worst of the worst there because it's the newest, most state-of-the-art, escape-proof, maximum security prison. So that's the reason that the likes of Garland Green, the serial killer, and the Mexican drug cartel guy, and Cyrus the Virus, and Johnny 23, and all these people, the worst of the worst are being sent there because it's a brand new prison for the worst of the worst. And Baby O is just, and the prison is in Alabama, which they clearly are not at this point in Alabama.
Right. One hopes
and that's why Cameron's catching a ride home because he's being released.
One hopes that the people who designed the plane did not also design the prison.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Because
actually, the plane is perfectly secure. Like they just managed to take advantage of the system. Anyway, let's finish with this plot synopsis. If we're going to be plot synopsing, let's be plot synopsing. And they get on the plane and things go awry and the prisoners escape and they take control of the plane. They stop over and pick up this drug lord who we find out has instigated this entire thing. And the plan is to get him where he needs to be, and then they're going to do an escape to Mexico. Doesn't work out.
Nope.
And things go awry, and Cameron has to be the hero and brings the plane down on the Las Vegas Strip.
I want to see the insurance paperwork after this. Oh, my Lord. Yeah.
And all is well.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the plot of the movie.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff happens in between.
A lot. This was a lot of fun.
Yes.
I have to say. This was, and it's Jerry Bruckheimer is involved. So this is a perfect, it's stupid hot. It's July. You want to go to the movies and be in the air conditioning and just forget everything for a while. And you get a Coke as big as your head and popcorn as big as your baby.
Yes.
And you have 2 hours of just fun.
Dumb, stupid fun. Yeah. This is actually kind of technically the first Jerry Bruckheimer movie, which is complete misnomer, misleading statement because it's not. In fact, he made a ton of movies before. But this is the first movie he made without his producing partner, Don Simpson. So it used to always be this very familiar intro, like if you're watching Days of Thunder or The Rock or Bad Boys or so many of these other movies that they made together in the 90s and late 80s, Beverly Hills Cop and all these other things. This familiar double play of logos of the Don Simpson logo and the Jerry Bruckheimer logo, and then you knew you were just in for a dumb, fun time.
Okay.
But so they had a disagreement. Don Simpson did not see anything in this movie. And was like, you know what, Jerry, you want to do this one, do it on your own. And Jerry took it and did it on his own. And unfortunately, during the production of this movie, Don Simpson died. So one presumes they may have gone back to their producing partnership, but that was never to be. So this was the first solo Jerry Bruckheimer movie of the 90s. And then he just kept flying solo from there.
This is sort of like the first John Woo movie where he found out that doves existed.
Yeah, well, kind of.
It's its own flavor now.
Yes. It's a big dumb movie. Tons of explosions. Lots of people jumping in front of fireballs. Lots of people walking away from explosions. Jumping out of little flimsy sheds just as they blow up.
Do not use this as an instruction manual for anything.
No. Cars getting destroyed, getting blown up. Planes getting destroyed. I mean, there's a ton of stuff getting blown up.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, and so it was a big dumb fun time, and just turn your brain off. It doesn't matter. None of the specifics of this matter. It doesn't matter that some of the stuff that they're doing, like if you want to be a plane guy and be like, well, the transponder doesn't actually, you can't really do whatever. Like they pull a bunch of gags and different stuff to do the heist and then mislead the U.S. Marshals and the DEA who are trying to catch them. There's all kinds of stuff, and none of it's realistic. But you can't hold you don't hold a big dumb action movie to the rules of reality or any sort of level of realism.
No, put it this way. I, in my notes, did not have a single thing about toxic masculinity or xenophobia or anything, even though I'm sure there is a lot of all of that.
There's a literal rapist in this. There's a not flattering portrayal of a transgender person. Yeah. It was
1997. Yes, but I didn't have any of that in my notes, so we're just not going there.
It's not one of those movies.
No. And we're not going to try to make it one. Is the thing.
Yes. So anyway, I was talking about Jerry Bruckheimer. This was in the midst of the Nicolas Cage action trinity. He put out The Rock, which was with Bruckheimer, and then Face Off, which was not, which you brought up John Woo earlier. John Woo was Face Off. Mm-hmm. There's actually a lost episode of the show featuring Face Off that may one day make the airways, but we doubt it due to quality issues in both audio and content quality.
And what's the great line in that? Just so you can say it now.
I don't even. There's so many.
I want you to take his face off.
No more drugs for that man.
Yeah.
I thought it was, I could eat a peach all day. not that one. So there was this period, it was so weird where, Nicolas Cage was going to be this action star, and he did kind of continue to do that. I mean, he did stuff like Ghost Rider and other action-oriented movies.
Are you not saying that National Treasure is an action movie? Come on.
Yeah, National Treasure, it's absolutely. They're making a series out of it, apparently. It's going to be great. Yes, for Disney Plus, I believe. It's going to be great.
That's amazing.
I'm sure it's going to be great. He's coming back for it. It's going to be wonderful.
Okay.
But this was kind of that moment where he was sort of stepping up to fill that Bruce Willis role of like he was going to be the next sort of everyman action hero. And it just, it didn't work out. Not too long after this, he would get into his troubles or whatever caused him to disappear from the mainstream.
I don't know. Yeah.
But this was just this precious, wonderful moment in time where he was in Face Off. He was and he in each of these roles is so very different. Like Face Off, he's a good guy, and then he has to play the bad guy. He's the bad guy, and then he has to play the good guy, and back and forth. All kinds of crazy stuff. In The Rock, he is a reluctant sort of action hero. He's the science guy to Sean Connery's hardened criminal ex-spy. So, it's just a trio of roles showing the wonderful diversity of Nick Cage. He's got fantastic flowing hair in this movie, and his accent is mwah. It's not like he could have just cheaped out and just did his Raising Arizona accent. It's not. It sounds sometimes like his Raising Arizona accent, but it's not. Like he apparently spent time in Alabama to get this Alabama accent, and what we're blessed with is put the bunny back in the box. Like he gives it his all, like really he does.
So I got serious Silence of the Lambs vibes right there. Just saying.
Put the bunny back in the box?
Yes. It puts the bunny back in the box or it gets the gun.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So Nicolas Cage, he's wonderful in this movie. Apparently he was like so dedicated to this role. He was like pumping iron between takes to keep his biceps popping, and keep up his look. And he's got a pretty good look. This might be the best shape he's been in his entire career, outside of a few instances where his muscles are like CG altered. Like I think in Ghost Rider, there's an infamous scene where he's got like this shredded six pack and it's all like CGI and stuff.
Man, I got to get that technology in my life.
Or it's just like a latex suit. I don't know if it's like the suit that Weird Al wears in the parody of Rambo.
Yeah.
It's something like that. But it's just full of great lines and full of great moments, and like you said, it's just a stupid fun movie, and don't pause, turn off your brain, and don't pause to analyze it socially or psychologically.
I will also say, watch this on as big of a screen as you can,
loud as you can. Loud as you can. So what else we want to talk about with this movie? You got anything? You got you what are your thoughts? You got any?
Okay, so there's very few women in this, unsurprisingly. Mm-hmm. And one of them is a guard who I guess worked, she's on the bus that takes Cameron and Baby O from their prison to the plane to, and then she gets on the plane to transfer them.
Guard Sally.
Yeah. And there's also, I talked about there's, like unredeemable evil criminals, and then there's Cameron. There's kind of that dichotomy among the guards too. There's some who clearly just think these guys are scum of the earth and like mistreat them from the jump. And then Sally sees their humanity when it's there, which in some of them it's not. But, and there's a guy on the plane who played by Danny Trejo, who is the whole time I was like, I think that's, but he hadn't aged as much then as he has.
Yeah, he's pretty young then. Yeah, that's.
And I was like, I think that's who it is, and it was. And he's called Johnny 23 because he's raped.
He's been convicted of 23.
And he said, if they knew, I'd be Johnny 600, which is ew, gross. Yeah. And I kept thinking, Johnny number 5, which is that's a mashup I don't need to see.
You weren't just thinking Johnny 5, you were thinking Fisher Stevens in his horrible impression.
I hadn't even gotten that far. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
But anytime I think Johnny 5, I think Johnny 5.
Yeah. We're talking about Short Circuit, by the way, for if you're slow on the jump. But anyway, so he decides that she's going to be 24 or 601, depending on, and Poe comes and saves her, and it's meant to show like that he's a good guy, and he but like he takes Johnny 23's head and bashes it into a fence or something, and it's like, you don't treat women that way. And I was like, yes, but could we have her save herself and be sort of a badass, which I assume you have to be a prison guard? Like, just that grates me a little bit. And she does do some badassery later on and redeems herself, but I'm always a little bit annoyed when women are put in a situation where they have to be saved by somebody. But
although the head bashing is at the end when he actually tries to. There are a couple different times. There's the first time when he tries, and it's just more of like he reasons him out of it. Cameron reasons him out of it, and then the final. I'm talking about at the end.
Yeah,
right. Sure. Yeah. Like I think you could have that happen, but. Yeah, I mean everything is moving so fast.
Sure.
And she does she tries to fight, like, she tries to defend herself.
Well, and like 5 or 10 minutes later she does, I forget what she does, but she so she's not necessarily damsel in distress all the time.
Right, but also every other guard is also protected and saved by Poe. So she's in that way she's no different than the male guards.
True.
It's just that the male guards are all in a circle outside about to be executed by Ving Rhames. And he saves them through good old boy country logic.
Yeah.
And he saves her through, a physical act of intervention. But,
Speaking of, so Ving Rhames and John Malkovich are, I would say, the most recognizable of the instigators of the situation. They're criminals. They're in cahoots with this drug lord from South America, I think, but I didn't recognize the actor, and he is not as big of a role. Those two must have had so much fun.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't know if I've seen either of them play a thoroughly good guy on film, but this is like above and beyond when it comes to evil, and like I hope that they had as much fun as it looks like they did. And Malkovich particularly, he's a little bit like this in The Line of Fire, where he is a would-be assassin of the president against Clint Eastwood's Secret Service agent. He's the kind of bad guy where you're almost rooting for him because he's so captivating.
Yeah.
His personality is so I don't know. I don't want to say fleshed out, but he's very colorful.
Yeah, he's one
smart.
He's one of those 90s early 2000s villains he's quick wit. I mean, he's Hans Gruber, like he's or he's Gruber's the guy that Jeremy Irons plays in the third Die Hard movie. Like he's witty, he's smart, it's not like he knows he's in a movie, but he almost knows he's in a movie. Yeah. Like it's just this sort of attractive.
Got a good vocabulary, good with the wordplay. Like he's a lot of fun.
And he's tons of ironic statements, and it's very, some of it's almost dad jokey. Yeah. Yeah, but he has a lot of fun with it. And that role actually had a lot of people up for it. So it could have been very different.
Yeah,
that role. So this movie has a great cast, but it could have had an even better cast, because all of these roles, the main three. So we've got Vince Larkin, who is the U.S. Marshal, who's in charge of this plane and this operation that's been running flawlessly, which is actually based on a real thing that either the DEA or the U.S. Marshals were doing, where you got to get people around and you can't fly convicts on commercial flights, so you got to get them around. They were This was something that was literally happening in the 90s. And this whole thing is based on the fact that someone read an article, not that they hijacked the plane, but that this just existed.
Right.
And they thought, this basically was the early version of snakes on a plane.
Oh.
And just someone wrote a whole script based on a single statement.
So I was wondering because it's been a while since I've seen Air Force One, but apparently that movie depicts Air Force One as having features that it does not in fact have.
Oh, totally.
Like there isn't an escape pod for the president, all these things where you watch, you're like, oh, that makes sense. Of course it has that. And it actually doesn't. And then you're like, why? So this plane, well, maybe not with the features that are depicted, but
yeah, it's based on a real concept. But
I wondered how close to reality this was.
Right, I digress. As I was about to say, Cyrus the Virus, who is the character that John Malkovich plays, they were very close to casting a few different people. One of them, Mickey Rourke, who apparently
this was pre all of his plastic surgery, though, right?
This would have been sort of like the lull of his career. We wasn't getting a ton of roles, I think.
Yeah.
Apparently, he brought a big Bowie knife into the audition, just like freak people out. Jason Isaacs, who would have been great.
Oh yeah,
in that role, he would have been able to really inhabit that role.
He would have done well with the clever lines.
Yes, but my personal favorite, which almost happened, but apparently there was some kind of conflict.
Yeah,
Willem Dafoe.
Oh yeah,
which would have been great.
Yeah.
Just absolutely great. Yeah, and Jason Isaacs. I'm just basically reading right off the IMDb trivia right here, but he tells a story about how he was trying to do his one of his readings, and he's doing a scene, and Cyrus is supposed to have a gun, and he's like picks up a pencil, and he's like, I'll just use this as a gun. One of the crew members who's filming it literally just pulls a gun out of his waistband. He's like, oh, you can use this. And Jason Geisen is like, this is a real gun. And apparently the director was like, oh my God, I didn't know you were standing here all this time just with a real gun in your...
troubling.
In your holster.
What had he done at that point? I don't... Because he was in...
He's in The Rock, I'm pretty sure.
Is he? Because The Patriot was like 2002.
Yeah, I don't know what he had done at that point.
And I know he was on The West Wing in like 2004-ish.
Yeah.
And then Harry Potter was 4 or 5. I don't know. Yeah. Well, that would have been a different career arc, I guess, if he had done that. But
oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, like I said, the other big characters besides Cameron Poe, of course, which is Nicolas Cage, is Vince Larkin, who apparently, and this is one of those things where it's like, you just see people like listed off for different things. It's just literally just a list of, oh, these people were considered, and it's just everybody in Hollywood: Stephen Baldwin, William Baldwin, Tom Cruise, Johnny Depp, Dolph Lundgren, Brad Pitt, Keanu Reeves, Kurt Russell, etc.
Yeah.
I think those are actually the people that were considered for Cameron Poe, but it's like that. Oh, wow. It's just a list. There are just several lists in here of like, all of these people were considered. Like, yeah, they were. Of course they were. My favorite one though is the first choice for Cyrus. Which we were just talking about Cyrus, but the first choice apparently for Cyrus was Gary Oldman, which would have been great.
That also would have been, oh my gosh,
would have been great.
Oh, I love those kind of things, and I want to see the audition tapes.
Oh yeah, like if they exist, please.
Oh my gosh. Well, and whenever there's a situation where an actor is actually cast in something and then stuff happens, whatever, and they have to drop out, but they've shot some scenes. I desperately want to get my hands on those.
Yeah, the Eric Stoltz tapes from Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There
was you never watched the show Parenthood, I'm sure.
No.
But it was a soap opera about a multi-generational family with complicated relationships. I mean, how could I not watch it?
Yes. Geez.
Well, Maura Tierney, who was on ER and I don't know what else, was cast in it as one of the adult siblings, and they shot a couple episodes, and then she was diagnosed with cancer. She was like, okay, I gotta, and they recast the character with Lauren Graham, who was also quite good, but very different energy.
Oh, I'm sure.
So I found this YouTube video one time that had 2 scenes. Everything is the same other actors, same blocking, same shots, whatever, just different people playing this character, and it was amazing, the difference. Just different line readings and intonations, and the different energy that it gives to
it's totally. It's, you know, because you think like this is such an iconic performance, and then you see what someone else can bring to it, which is sometimes fun when you see the same character portrayed by different actors over time. Somebody like Batman or the Joker, who've been portrayed many times by many different people, and each one brings their own version of the character. Like it's so cool. And like I know a little bit of that Eric Stoltz stuff does survive, and like you can see those scenes in the like with Biff and certain scenes you can still see them. And it's great, you know.
I think all that stuff's
it's
fun.
all great, but I would love like if whatever these, you know, at the very least, I know Jason Isaacs definitely auditioned. I want to see that.
That would be great.
Apparently Tim Roth was in line for Garland Green, which is the Steve Buscemi character. Which is funny because they were both in Reservoir Dogs together. There's a few of those weird things of like, you know, you've got Bubba and then Dave Chappelle. Apparently, Dave Chappelle was going to be potentially going to be cast as Bubba.
Really?
So it's like, it's all these like weird little like, these two people, and then you know other weird things like John Cusack and freaking Nicolas Cage work together on several other movies and blah blah blah. You know, like there's all these just weird coincidences that you can get into. But
so does Dave Chappelle act anymore? Because there was a period where he did a number of, because he was in You've Got Mail, which was not long after this, in a completely straight role, not even as funny as this one is. Yeah. And now I think he doesn't do that.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it really fits with his current shtick.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really think he's been in movies much since Chappelle Show.
Yeah.
I just think that sort of it became its own thing, and like his comedy and his sketch stuff became.
People are like, I don't want the guy who yells, "I'm Rick James, bitch," in my rom-com. That doesn't really go. Yeah,
it became much more difficult.
That's fair. For some reason, the whole time I was expecting Larkin, John Cusack's character, to be a double agent or something.
Somehow, to like be.
I don't know. I think I was because I saw Cliffhanger. I don't know, in the past like 4 or 5 months, and that has a thing where it's a government plane. Some sort of government mission. I think they're doing is like carrying a currency from one bank to another or something like that. And the federal agent who's on the plane is a double agent and causes the plane. You know, I was expecting that. Yeah. And that he was gonna like make everybody think that he's trying to capture the prisoners, but he's actually on their side. Something that it wasn't.
Sure. So but I mean, that any possibility of that goes away very quickly because he's so dedicated to getting the plane.
Well, but I don't know. I feel like there have been movies like that where you don't find out the twist until the end, and they're just that good at the con.
Right, but bad movies, because he is constantly fighting for, you know, when they're misdirected to follow the the tourists, he is fighting to tell them that that's not, don't do that, don't go that way. Sure. He, you know, immediately responds to the note to go to Lerner Airfield. Yeah. He calls in all the reinforcements. Like there's no point at which he outside of the beginning when I think you can be justified. I never felt that. I mean, I can appreciate that you did. I would be more on the Calm Meanie.
Well, yeah.
Which is Malloy being on the pay. Part of
the reason that I suspected Cusack in the beginning is because of his shoes, which are these fisherman sandals, like, or some kind of Birkenstocks.
The braided sandals that were just really douchey, like yuppie sandals in the 90s, like the braided belts that people wore. Yeah.
Yes, with a suit, and he's wearing socks with them.
Seersucker, like...
No, it's just like a dress. It's a suit. It's a dress material, like gabardine or whatever.
It read to me as more like a leisure time. Well, but sure, yeah.
But you don't wear like sandals with those. So I was like, what's up with this guy? He's wearing like a light suit and these douchey sandals. Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Good. But his interplay with Calm Meanie is delightful.
Yes, it's fantastic. It's like in The Departed. With Marky Mark and
anybody.
But mostly with him and DiCaprio. Yeah. You know, when they're both just going back and forth, like, you know. Yeah. You kiss your mother with that mouth or whatever, you know, all that. Hey, fuck you, buddy.
It's great.
All that crap. It's just like that. It's just back and forth,
Well, and since we just saw Calm Meanie in The Commitments.
In another great role.
In a strong Irish accent. And here, it's not entirely flawless. There were a couple times where I heard it coming through, but a very good American accent.
It's a 100% generic American accent.
Yes.
Like, I always wonder with people from other countries like that, would it be easier for them to do a regional? Like, could he have made that character from Texas? Like,
Yeah.
is it harder or easier to do an American accent that is regional, or just like this generic cleaned up sort of?
I don't know. I wondered because his last name is Malloy and his first, Dalton or something. And I was like, I wonder if like the backstory. Oh, his parents are Irish immigrants, and that's why Malloy, and he's in New York City, and so sometimes it just comes
every
through.
now and then he slips into the accent.
Because I was raised by me granny, and
Yeah, but no, he's great in this. He is, him and they're constantly like him and Larkin. They're constantly busting each other's balls, and they're it's a territorial pissing contest between
Larkin
U.S. Marshals and DEA. He's with Larkin's with the Marshals, and the DEA is so the whole thing. The whole reason Malloy is there is because they're sneaking a guy onto the plane to try to interrogate the drug lord,
who is the mastermind behind all this.
Right. And get some information out of him because it's their, quote, last chance before the feds get a hold of him. So it's not even like this is our last chance to get information. So, the whole...
Isn't the DEA the feds?
No, I mean, when he says the feds, he means the FBI.
Well, okay, I guess.
Which all of those different divisions of the U.S. government, none of them want to get beat out by the others.
Well, that's true. That's what my watching of Law and Order SVU has taught me.
I'm sure.
Yeah, the government does not always work together, which gives me great confidence as a citizen. Like, that's what I want, is turf wars between government agencies.
Right, between these agencies that are supposed to be more concerned about getting the result, but they're more concerned about who gets the result.
Pissing contests with my tax dollars. Lovely. Yes, love it. Anyway, back to Colm Meaney is great.
Yeah, he's great. He is. We need like one more solid performance from him, and he'll become like the all-star of this.
He's going to be the patron saint of this.
Yeah. But the cast, just top to bottom, it's just full of greats.
My favorite actor in this, though, was on screen for all of like 30 seconds, and I don't know if anybody would recognize him besides me.
Oh Lord, one of these, huh?
Yes, he was at some point. John Cusack is hiding under a car for reasons. There's a pitched gun battle going on above, and he's hiding, and he finds this other guy hiding under the car with him.
Are you talking about that's Poe?
Oh, is it Poe? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, still gun battle.
Yeah.
And oh, that's right. This one,
Poe is under. He's looking for a needle.
He's the one who directs him to where the first aid kit is.
Yeah.
And it's like a modern syringe in the.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah. So that actor, his name is Dabbs Greer, and he apparently has been acting for like hundreds of years. His IMDb just goes on and on and on and on.
He's apparently immortal.
Yeah. What I know him from is he played the preacher on Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, Lord.
So I was very familiar with his face. This was not his last film role. His last film role was in The Green Mile. He played the older version of Tom Hanks, apparently. So this was his second to last.
Nice.
And he died like 5 to 10 years after this, at age 90.
Jeez.
Long life, long career, lots of character roles. But I was like, it's Reverend Alden.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Under the car. It was great.
There are so many great lines in this movie, and he has one of the great ones where Cameron Poe is, he's like, stay here or whatever. He's like, hey, I'm looking for a syringe. And he just goes, drugs will end you, son. That is like the most Coen brothers. You got a panty on your head, like just the most, like he is an interesting character visually. He is on screen for all of 5 seconds, and he is the, well, which is it, young feller? You want night should drop or you want night should freeze? Yeah. Like just perfect timing.
Well, so this is happening at this airfield out in the middle of nowhere.
Rinky-dink old airfield.
And I want the backstory on this because it's almost entirely deserted.
Yeah, but also there are things like in the restaurant, there's food on the counter, like order up.
Yeah.
Like just weird stuff like.
Well, it seems like the guys who had the plane,
the cartel,
they came in and cleaned everything.
Yeah, I think they killed everybody,
but there's this trailer park next to it where this little girl is having a tea party with her doll, and she's just sitting in a dried up,
nasty old in-ground pool.
That's like 2 feet deep.
Yeah.
I mean, like the kiddie pool.
She's in like a.
And she looks like she's out of the 50s.
Filthy.
She's not, and she's all by herself. And so one of the, so the plane lands here because they were going to switch everybody to this more discreet
to go to Mexico
plane.
Yeah.
And shenanigans, and they have to.
Yeah, the criminals all they deplane, and different things are happening.
They're delayed, so there's a layover. And Steve Buscemi's character, who's this like cold-blooded serial killer, but also like
Green.
seems very mild-mannered, wanders over and discovers her and has a tea party with her.
Yes, like a very ominous tea party.
Well, yeah, and you think, oh my God, he killed her, and he just took her doll, and then she's waving bye to the plane, like she has no idea what But no one comes out to check on her.
Oh yeah, no.
Like
There's no one to check on her. Both of her parents are down at the sawmill or whatever.
Well, I suppose
she's just left there by herself all day.
It was the 90s. There was no such thing as.
I don't think in this year of our Lord 2022 that girl's parents are checking on her in that squalor. That situation. But yeah, it's like literally in the salt flats. It was bleak. It was very and there's a ton of crazy stuff that happens throughout the movie. Like we said, Garland Green, they bring him in. He's in full like Silence of the Lambs gear, Hannibal Lecter with his hands tied and everything. And he just occasionally says these very like articulate and intelligent things. Like he psychoanalyzes one of the prisoners. This is like, he's like, I don't know what it was, handsy uncle or mama didn't pay enough attention to him, but it literally hurts him to feel happiness.
And then he's the definition of irony. A bunch of prisoners singing. They're all singing Sweet Home Alabama. Partying on a plane, singing a song that was written by some guys who died in a plane crash.
Yeah, he's got a lot of good lines. And he's kind of there just doing, he's almost like he's doing observational humor for like a very twisted, intelligent set of people.
Yes. And then at the end, he manages to walk away.
He's the only one that gets away.
And you see him in Vegas at the craps roulette, something.
Craps, yeah. I think it's craps.
And you're like, I don't know what he's going to do. But he's apparently killed like 37 people.
Yeah. And
so it's a little ominous.
He's totally normal throughout the whole thing. But then there's a point where he's doing the psychoanalyzing thing, I think, and Poe is like, don't you talk to me. And he's like, this one girl, I drove through 3 states wearing her head as a hat. Just like out of nowhere. Yeah. But yeah, there's just all kinds of good gags in this movie, and the action stuff, huge explosions. I just wrote explosions as one of my talking points.
A lot.
They're just everywhere. I mean, there's nothing more to say than there are just dozens and dozens of huge explosions.
Well, you wrote on your notes, you wrote very Jerry Bruckheimer and explosions, which is a little bit duplicative. That's kind of, I think you wasted some.
Yes. Well, I didn't have a lot to actually write. I did write on here fun facts, many of which I've already shared, but I will share one with you that I haven't shared yet, which to me is my favorite. Well, my second favorite. I'll share the other one after.
Okay.
My favorite fun fact about this movie is related to the director, but this number 2.
Okay.
Apparently in many drafts of the script early on, the final scene, which takes place with them crashing in Las Vegas on the Strip and running into the Sands Hotel, running the plane into the Sands Hotel, they were originally supposed to land on the lawn of the White House.
I think this was better.
I think it was. And I think, everybody associated agrees it was better, but that is hilarious that that was their original thought. And I think it came down to number 1. Someone was like, they're going to Alabama. How did they get to Washington, D.C.?
Right.
And they're like, oh, okay, yeah. I guess they're coming from like somewhere on the West Coast going to Alabama. It'd be really hard to get them there. But also apparently, we were a couple years removed from Independence Day. Blowing up the White House. And so they were like, a plane crashing into the White House or landing on the lawn or whatever. Like, that's not new. Everybody's seen that by now.
Well, given what happened a couple of years later, I am glad that they didn't crash into the White House.
Oh, yeah.
Because that is, I was at the beginning, Poe comes home and greets his wife at the bar that she works at, I guess. Yeah. And he's wearing his dress uniform. And it's promptly set upon by the ruffians.
By the locals.
I guess who have been ogling her this whole time. And now they're like, oh, he's taken away our eye candy, whatever. And say something like, oh, yeah, you're the reason we lost Vietnam. Which is
Nancy boys like you is the reason we lost Vietnam.
Yeah, which these guys are like 25, 30 at most. I'm like, you
weren't even born.
You don't have a stake in Vietnam. Why are you,
Right. But, you were 5.
But I was thinking like, and then at some point when they go to start the fight with him, they pull his medals off his chest. And I was like, and I have a complicated relationship with have complicated feelings about the military and the way that we
like venerate them.
Yes,
stuff,
now. But I was like, wow, this was definitely pre 9/11.
No, 4 years later, these guys are putting a yellow ribbon and wearing their American flags, and these guys are right now. These guys are support the troops or else kind of guys. Yes. You better not kneel at no football game. But here they are in 97 ripping his medals off, and
which is and I kind of. That was interesting. That was sort of a cultural shift that I didn't really think about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, but then it's like,
and some of it is just they behave that way because the script needed them.
Exactly. I was going to say, it's movie characters. Yeah.
But still, like, you wouldn't have that happen in a movie set after 2001.
Oh, Lord, no. So much of this stuff wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
At all. So my favorite fun fact about this movie is this movie was directed by Simon West, who's just a working director. Like he just directed a bunch of stuff and he continues to direct stuff, and who cares? And he's even to this day, I think he's still directing, and he's not a hit maker, but he's a workman kind of just, all right, we need a director, and he knows how to direct things.
Yeah.
The thing he was most famous for directing is Never Gonna Give You Up, the Rickroll video. He directed that video.
Wait,
that music video.
The Rickroll video. You mean like the original in 1989 or whatever?
The Rick Astley Never Gonna Give You Up music video was directed by Simon West, who directed Con Air.
That is fabulous.
And that is my favorite fun fact about this movie.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know how much more there is to really say about this movie, because it's just one of those things you have to experience it. Like we could sit here and explain to you about the fight in the belly, put the bunny back in the box, and all that stuff. But it's just, you got to watch it. There's great performances, great characters. Like I think some of the characters are really well rounded. Like I think Diamond Dog is a well written character. So he's like a quote, as they call him, black militant, but he's also like very pragmatic about the situation, because Poe he's trying to be wily.
Yeah. And
he's trying to like get in there and say, well, what is a smart, militant black man like you doing taking orders from this white boy? And he's like, means to an end. It's like, there's this moment where Poe realizes like somehow they got all these people, and he even kind of verbalizes this. They got the worst criminals in the world all on this one plane, and somehow got them to cooperate with each other and not kill each other, And I think it's Cyrus is like definitely racist on some level.
Oh yeah.
For sure. It's just based on what he says to Pinball, which is the Dave Chappelle character. But still, like, they all understand this is a means to an end, and they'll stay together as long as they need to.
Well, yeah. Don't you suppose at some point when it became inconvenient, they would all turn on each other real quick?
Oh yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
And then there's just some characters like Swamp Thing, who's the pilot. He's just a fun character. He's loving it. He's just like, every time he's like, can you put this down at the, they're trying to land the plane in Las Vegas. He's like, can you make it to the Las Vegas airport? And he's like, I'm putting it down on the strip, and I ain't landing. I'm crashing, just like, he's just
puts on a helmet.
And he puts on an army helmet. Yeah. It's just full of fun dialogue, and it's just a big, dumb movie that is just set aside 2 hours and turn up the volume and turn out all the lights, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. We'll have to do some more Jerry Bruckheimer movies just for we had a serious-ish comedy whatever movie last time. Let's just go total dumb action to follow it up.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think, is there anything else I want to say? This movie spawned the hit song "How Do I Live Without You" by Trisha Yearwood, which actually, it wasn't her song originally. It was Leanne Rimes.
Oh, that's it. I couldn't remember who did it originally.
But it was like, there was something maybe about like, this is going to be a love song.
And they didn't want a 13-year-old
because she was 14 at the time or whatever. Yeah, so Trisha Yearwood did a version that got nominated for both an Oscar and a Razzie. So basically, it got nominated for the best song in a movie and the worst song in a movie. And it is really out of place and weird in this movie. Like, it's good as like a quote unquote love theme, but it's really weird at the very end of the movie where Las Vegas is like totally
burning
and being destroyed. And it's just, how do I live without?
Well, and also they're back together. Like, you're not going to have
yeah,
to.
you don't have to live. Hey, guess what?
Yeah.
Also, not a big impressive fun fact, but I did just remember talking about Las Vegas. They actually got to destroy the entrance to the Sands Hotel for real.
Oh, wow.
Because just days after this, it was demolished.
Oh.
So I think they also filmed the demolition, but I don't think they actually aired it as part. I don't think they included it in the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they were like basically given free reign to like totally destroy and blow up the front of the hotel. So all that stuff.
Oh my gosh.
The broken columns and all the stuff that happens. That's like really them just.
That's like Christmas.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
You tell a bunch of movie guys. Yeah. And Cyrus has like the most crazy convoluted death. Like,
well, and that's it reminded me a little bit of Speed toward the end, because you're shifting modes of transportation, right? So they're all this on the plane, and then they get off the plane, and Cyrus and a couple of survivors of the plane hijack a fire truck, and Poe and Larkin are chasing the truck,
on police motorcycles.
Yeah. And Poe, what does he do? Like he ties Cyrus to the top of the ladder and then
he handcuffs
brings
him.
it up.
Yeah, because the last thing that Cyrus says before, so they're having a standoff in the plane right after it, while it's crashing, when he's figured out finally, when Cyrus the virus has finally figured out it's Poe that's been doing all this time. And he tells him, the last thing your daughter's ever going to see is my stinking breath or whatever over her dead body or whatever. He has some great lines. He also tells that to the pilot, the last thing, and he's like so dedicated when he tells him, he's like, the last thing you'll see are the wings of the flies buzzing around your dead corpse. Yeah. Malkovich just gives it his all. Yeah. And so Poe is like, he knows that if Cyrus escapes, then he's going to have to be, watching his back. So yeah, he rams his motorcycle into Ving Rhames on the back of the fire truck, and he's hanging from the ladder, and he manages to get up there with Malkovich, with the Cyrus the virus, and handcuffs him to the ladder and is like, "You're never going to touch my daughter." And then he raises the ladder.
Yeah. Well, and I was having visions of Dennis Hopper and how he meets his end in Speed, which is he's standing up and they're at a tunnel and boom. And then as Keanu Reeves says later, he lost his head. So
I love that he hits one of those walkways, the walkways that go over the street.
And that doesn't kill him.
Yeah, that doesn't kill him. But the funny thing is, like, if you're really watching that scene, it hits that walkway. So the ladder is up at like a 45-degree angle. It hits the walkway. His body flies into the walkway, then like down through the floor or something. And then all of a sudden it's in an industrial construction site in the middle of downtown Las Vegas on the Strip. And there is a hydraulic piston that's like, there for pounding, pounding things into the ground or whatever.
Stomps him right in the face.
And he gets pulled up the conveyor belt and he's laying there and then it comes down and crushes his head. Like where the heck did this come from? But that's the kind of movie this is. Like, just turn your brain off. It doesn't matter how he got into this hydraulic smasher.
Somebody really wanted to do that.
Right. Yeah, someone had that gag.
I feel like you could have killed him through the walkway.
Yeah, he could have just been flung, or he could have hit the bridge. Yeah. The other end of the bridge, because they're in a bridge at first, or an underpass. He could have hit the side of the bridge or something.
I hope whoever it was really enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, they just worked hard to get that in there. Yeah, it's stuff like that. It's just that kind of movie. Just there's not a lot to discuss in depth. It is just fun and stupid.
Stupid fun. Yeah. And but listen, folks, I am sure that there are deeper social themes. Perhaps there are some things to say about how we treat prisoners and recidivism. And I don't know. And we would love it if you would drop us a line about it.
Larkin has the great line in there about, where he's basically saying the same thing. Like, I can give you a couple of people to point your finger at if you'd like.
Yeah. So do we have anything else to say? I think we got it all. And then some.
No, I think there's tons of things I'd like to say about this movie, but none of it is anything more than just sort of gushing about how stupid and fun it is. Like, I'm just trying to think anything.
We'll give you the extended cut with all of his fan stuff later.
Right.
But yeah.
My squealing.
Yeah. But yeah, so that is Con Air.
Yeah.
If you have anything to say about it, let us know. Like I said, if you could find some deeper social themes in it,
or if you'd like us,
let us know.
if you'd like us to do a follow-up episode where we very carefully and deeply investigate all the underlying themes of this movie.
Yes, race, how people of different races and sexualities are treated in prison. Like we can go there. I don't.
No one wants that.
I don't think
we'll
it's
do
necessary,
it if you want
but
it.
we can.
If you tell us you want.
Fan service, I think they call that.
Yeah.
But let us know what you think. You can tweet at us or send us an email. Our handle is the same for both. It's YSMY Podcast, YSMY for You Show Me Yours, at Twitter or at gmail.com. And we have new episodes every other Wednesday. So 2 weeks from today, no matter what today is, you can find a new episode of ours on most of your major podcast providers, specifically Apple Podcasts. And while you're there checking out the latest, we would love it if you would rate, review, and subscribe. That means you'll get the latest episode in your queue. And if you can rate and review, that'll help more people find out about our podcast. Or you can just tell your friends, because that's great too. Sharing is caring.
Yeah.
And let's see. So 2 weeks from today, there's going to be a new episode and I will be hosting. And I believe that what we're going to watch is continuing our theme of stupid fun, Romy and Michelle's high school reunion, which I'm sure that you have seen, Dave.
No, this is another one of those that was constantly on in the video store. So I've seen, I've paid attention to it for 5 minutes at a time.
Okay.
In which I have seen the entirety of the movie, but
never in one.
Never in one sitting.
I get it. Okay, well, good. Well, this will be a first for you in a way.
Sure.
So, all right then. So we'll see you next time with Romy and Michelle. And in the meantime, thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. The You Show Me Yours theme song is Uplifting Electronic Indie by Winnie the Moog from filmmusic.io.